Premium quality football shirts at an extremely affordable price. Sound good? If so, check out the sponsor of today's video, jerseyfifa.com. You can see that I've sent you some shirts and they really are top quality, so make sure to click the link in the description to go find a shirt for yourself or perhaps as a gift for someone else. And you can now use code jerseyfifa at checkout for 10% off your order. That's code jerseyfifa at checkout for 10% off your order. I really do recommend their product, so go take a look. Now let's get into the analysis. So heading into the summer, one of the most interesting clubs to look at was Chelsea for a few different reasons. But as of yet, they haven't actually done any business in terms of bringing new players into the club, but I think we all know that they need some new signings. The main reason I say this is because they need to find some sort of way to close the gap to Manchester City and Liverpool at the top, and currently they are not at that level, so they need to find a way to start closing the gap. The other issue for Chelsea is that the teams below them are also closing the gap to them, with Spurs in particular doing some excellent early transfer business, so I understand why Chelsea fans are starting to get a little bit concerned at the lack of business. Fortunately, I do think Chelsea are in safe hands because Thomas Tuchel is an extremely intelligent individual, and I'm sure he has a plan in place for the sort of business that he wants his side to make, so that's what we're going to be looking at today. We're going to look at two players that Chelsea have been heavily linked with in the past couple of weeks, and discuss whether or not they're the right sort of signings for Chelsea to make this summer, and of course how they will fit into the team if they were to sign. So one of the obvious things that Chelsea need to do is replace Antonio Rudiger. For me, he was one of Chelsea's best players last season, but he has now left for Real Madrid, so Chelsea desperately need to find a way to replace what he offers. The player that has been tipped to come in as his replacement is Jules Kunday, and I actually agree that he should be brought into the club, as you would have seen in one of my recent videos, so let me explain why I think this move should happen. For me, one of the main reasons that Kounde should be brought into the club is for what he offers on the ball. Rudiger was brilliant at dribbling forward with the ball at his feet, and Jules Kunday is actually arguably even better at doing this. Kounde's comfort on the ball is quite clear for all to see, and it continues into his passing as well, and those that have watched him over the past few seasons will know that he is one of the best ball playing defenders in all of Europe at the moment. This is one of the reasons that this transfer makes such perfect sense, because we know that Tuchel has used a back three during the last few seasons, and Kounde would suit that perfectly thanks to his brilliant ball playing ability in possession. Kounde also has a lot to offer from a defensive point of view as well, and I actually think it's a somewhat underrated side of his game because his defensive awareness and his reading of the play in particular are actually very impressive. Another underrated side of Kounde as a player is his ability in the air, and I think it's because he's quite short that people assume he is poor in the air, but that simply isn't the case because he has an excellent leap to rise above his opponents. This can be seen when we look at his FBref report as he ranks in the 72nd percentile, and we can see that he ranks well in so many other aspects as well as a player, and he really is well rounded and just a brilliant technical player in general. Being so well rounded also means that Kounde can be somewhat versatile, which is something that we've seen in the French national team in particular, where we've seen him playing as the starting right back on a few different occasions. This again is something that makes him suited to playing on the right hand side of a back three, because this would give him that license to move forward with the ball, showing his quality to carry the ball forward towards the final third of the pitch. This would be extremely beneficial for Chelsea because it would be a way to bring the forwards into the game, especially if it was someone like Havertz starting up front who would look to drop deep so Kounde could then find his feet with the forward pass. Again, this is an area where Kounde would excel. He would have that ability and the freedom to carry the ball towards the final third before then looking to find the feet of someone like Havertz up front with his brilliant passing ability. On top of all of these brilliant technical abilities that Kounde possesses, he is also just super fast, so even on occasions when he does get things slightly wrong and he ends up out of position, he still has the pure pace to get back and recover. This is certainly something that Tuchel will be looking for in any centre-back signing this summer due to the lack of mobility of Thiago Silva, so Kounde's speed and power could be perfect to really complement Silva at the back. For this reason, combined with his reading of the play, I do think that Jules Kunday would drastically improve the Chelsea defence. Certainly if you look at the players currently available, Kounde looks like a pretty solid upgrade in this defensive unit. This is why it's a signing that I think has to happen. Chelsea have lost a few centre-backs this summer, so they have to sign someone as a minimum, but to be able to really upgrade on that position would be a massive boost for this Chelsea team this summer. Whilst this would be a boost for Chelsea this summer, I think the team would still be some way short of being the finished article, and there's a few different positions that they would still need, but for today I want to focus on one of the two winger positions. because one of the main players that Chelsea have been linked with is Ousmane Dembele, and I think that would be a pretty good signing, especially on a free, but I just feel as though it might be a little bit too much of a gamble because of his injury record. Instead, I do think that Chelsea should go for the safer option, and the other player that they have been heavily linked with is Raheem Sterling, and again it's a signing that I would like to see, so let me try and explain why I think that. One of the main reasons that I think this would be such a great signing to make is simply because it would weaken one of their major opponents, and while City do have a lot of squad depth, losing Sterling would certainly do damage to them as a team. The reason for that is quite simple. Raheem Sterling is a very good footballer. It really is as simple as that, and I'm quite confident that he could join almost any team in the world and immediately improve them, and Chelsea are certainly no different. So if Sterling was to come into a club, then I think it would be most likely to see him playing on the left hand side of the attack in Chelsea's usual 3-4-3 system, although to be fair he could play in a few different other positions as well. Of course, no matter whereabouts in the attack he plays, one thing that Sterling always offers is a massive threat with his pure pace, and we all know by now he is absolutely rapid and his acceleration off the mark is frightening. This pure speed or pace, whatever you want to call it, obviously means that Sterling is always a threat, especially on the counter-attack. Even for the best defenders in the world, pace is always just a pain and is difficult to deal with. Whilst that will be a big plus for Chelsea, they will be much more interested in what he can offer against the smaller teams who sit much deeper, because ultimately these are the teams that Chelsea has struggled against the most under Thomas Tuchel. Fortunately for Chelsea fans, this is an area where Sterling really excelled yet again, and is mainly thanks to his brilliant intelligence off the ball, with his constant movement in and around defenders, causing havoc constantly. Sterling can also break teams down with the ball at his feet as well, and again it comes down to his speed, but not in terms of covering ground, but in terms of quickly shifting the ball from one foot to the other to beat multiple opponents at once. This is a side of Sterling's game that has drastically improved over the past couple of seasons, and he is getting better and better at taking the ball in a tight area and beating his man before then getting the shot off at the opposition's goal. This is something that we've seen Sterling doing for England as well, and actually often even in the 3-4-3 formation. So from that point of view, whilst there are of course some differences, it does look like Sterling could slot straight into the new system. If this was the case, then Chelsea would be getting themselves a real goal scorer. He isn't as reliable as a typical striker or number 9, but if Sterling stays fit for a full season, then he almost guarantees goals for any teams that he would play for. If we compare this to Chelsea's other options, Sterling is just clear. On screen I have Sterling's, Ziyech's and Pulisic's best season with their current club in terms of goals and assists. Sterling is clearly a massive upgrade on these two. Strangely, this could work particularly well with Reece James playing at right wing back, because we know that he loves to fizz low crosses into the box towards the back post, and this is the exact area that Sterling loves to score goals from. Pep Guardiola is a man that deserves a lot of credit for this, because during his younger days Sterling was quite rash in these situations, and whilst he does still have those bad moments that we've all seen, he is now much more clinical in these areas most of the time. This has all been based on Sterling playing on the left hand side of the attack, but he could also do something very similar from the right hand side, or he can even play as a bit of a false 9 up front, and that is a credit to his versatility. For all the reasons that I have just discussed, I do think that Sterling would be a brilliant signing, and I think there are a lot of things to suggest that he could come into this Chelsea team and almost have a bit of an immediate impact on the whole squad. I think I would probably say the same for Kounde as well, for those reasons that we were discussing during the first half of the video. I do think he would be the perfect player to come into the back three to really improve Chelsea on and off the ball. Alongside Raheem Sterling, I do think this would be two very good bits of business, and certainly if they can get them done for the right fee, then it could be a brilliant start to Chelsea's transfer business, setting them up for the rest of the summer window. Even with these two signings, I do think that there would still be flaws in this Chelsea team and certain areas that they need to upgrade on. So make sure to get in the comments down below and let me know what areas you think Chelsea need to improve in, and also what players you would sign for those positions. Get in the comments and let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.